What if I told you that an aircraft, silent, unseen, and unknown, pierced one of the most heavily guarded skies in the world, delivered a devastating strike, and vanished without a trace? No radar, no alarm, no explanation, just shock, and then silence, not just from the skies, but from the world. Israel stunned, global power silent. And as the smoke cleared, one truth became impossible to ignore. Something has changed. This is not just a story of a vanished aircraft. It's a story about the collapse of certainty, the rise of invisible power, and the terrifying silence that follows when no one dares to speak. In this video, you're going to witness a moment that shook the foundations of modern warfare, exposed the vulnerabilities of even the most fortified nations, and whispered a warning to every power that thought it could never be touched. So don't blink, don't scroll, because what you're about to hear isn't just a speech, it's a wake-up call. And by the end of it, you'll understand why the world's silence might be the loudest sound of all. It began like a whisper in the sky, no sound, no warning, no trace on radar, just a flash, a detonation, and then silence. The world learned of the incident only after satellite images surfaced, showing the smoldering remains of what was once a critical Israeli defense outpost. The aircraft that delivered the blow had come and gone like a shadow. No warning sirens, no interception attempts, no declaration of breach. No, it wasn't just an attack. It was a message sent with chilling precision. What made it even more haunting was the fact that Israeli defense systems, some of the most advanced on the planet, detected nothing. The Iron Dome stood still. The early warning radars remained quiet. Even Israel's elite cyber intelligence units couldn't trace a launch point, a flight path, or even an engine signature. For a country that prides itself on airtight security and world-class intelligence, this wasn't just a failure. It was an insult. Speculation began to swirl. Was it a drone? A stealth jet? A new hypersonic weapon? Or something the world has never seen before? The strike's accuracy pointed to one thing: surgical-level intelligence. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were hitting and why. The facility wasn't just any target. It was a nerve center, possibly linked to surveillance operations or regional deterrence. The fact that this aircraft was able to enter Israeli airspace undetected, unleash destruction, and disappear without a trace is what has rattled global analysts. This wasn't just a military breach. It was a psychological operation meant to shake confidence and trigger paranoia. And then came the silence. No group claimed responsibility. No military took credit. No radar logs were released. It was as if the skies had opened for one devastating moment and then closed just as fast, swallowing all evidence. The haunting part, this wasn't just about a building being destroyed. It was about something deeper. Fear of the unknown. Fear that in the invisible corners of the earth, someone or something possesses capabilities that can strike with impunity. And Israel, for all its might and technological dominance, was forced to confront a horrifying reality: that its enemies may no longer be shadows of the past, but ghosts of the future. The world has long measured power through visible might. Jets roaring through skies, missiles arching across borders, satellites hovering overhead. But this incident shattered that old framework. The aircraft in question didn't just attack. It vanished without a whisper. Its capabilities suggest a level of technological superiority that challenges everything military strategists believe was possible. Experts say for an aircraft to penetrate Israeli airspace, strike a target with such precision, and exit without triggering a single defense system, it must possess advanced stealth, beyond anything currently known or admitted by even the most powerful nations. This wasn't just a fast jet or a high-tech drone. It was something else. It jammed radars, escaped thermal detection, and left no electronic trail. In a battlefield dominated by surveillance and tracking, that level of invisibility is the real weapon. This raises a frightening possibility. Either an existing power has developed new technology in complete secrecy, or an emerging force has leapfrogged traditional military evolution. If the former, a geopolitical balance is about to shift. If the latter, a new player has entered the arena with a thunderous introduction. Either way, the message is terrifying. The old systems of defense, based on visibility, predictability, and deterrence, are now vulnerable. The idea that air superiority belongs to those with the most jets or biggest fleets is being rewritten. Power now belongs to those who can't be seen, can't be traced, and can't be anticipated. Intelligence agencies are scrambling. Military experts are forced to rethink everything they knew. This was not a fluke. It was too perfect, too deliberate. And if it could happen once, it can happen again. That fear is now spreading quietly across the corridors of defense ministries worldwide, because this wasn't just about Israel getting hit. It was about the entire world witnessing the arrival of a new era in warfare. A ghost aircraft, possibly AI-guided, perhaps launched from an undetectable platform, executed an operation that even science fiction couldn't have scripted better. And now the biggest question hangs in the air like a storm cloud. Who owns this technology, and what else can it do? Because if this level of power is real and repeatable, then no nation, no matter how fortified, can claim to be beyond reach anymore. For decades, Israel has stood as a symbol of unmatched defense readiness in the region, a nation whose airspace is among the most guarded on earth. Backed by cutting-edge technology, strategic alliances, and an extensive intelligence network, Israel's defense doctrine has always rested on one principle: prevention through dominance. Yet this single untraceable strike shattered that doctrine in seconds. The fact that a foreign aircraft could pierce its airspace, carry out a surgical hit, and then disappear without a trace is more than just a tactical loss. It is a symbolic collapse of certainty. For Israeli defense strategists, it wasn't just about what was hit. It was about what wasn't seen coming. A military and intelligence system that prides itself on preemptive action and rapid response was left in complete silence, unable to react, even after the explosion had already echoed. In the aftermath, there were no confident statements from officials, only hurried investigations and vague assurances. It was as if the very foundation of Israel's defense confidence had cracked. Analysts rushed to label it an intelligence oversight, while others went further, calling it a humiliation. This wasn't Gaza rockets or regional skirmishes. This was something precise, calculated, and meant to prove a point. And that point was made loud and clear. No system, no matter how advanced, is immune. The Iron Dome didn't respond. The satellites missed it, and the command centers were unaware until it was too late. In Israeli political circles, questions began to rise. Was it an inside breach, a cyber disruption, or an enemy using a new kind of undetectable warfare? The answers were few, and the damage to Israel's strategic psyche was immense. This singular event triggered a wave of reflection inside Israel. Military leaders convened in urgent meetings, trying to piece together what had failed, not just technically, but philosophically. For a country that relies on deterrence and technological superiority, this moment was more than uncomfortable, it was threatening. If Israel, with all its resources and global support, could be blindsided like this, then what else is possible, and who might be next? The psychological blow was even greater than the physical one, because it forced Israel to confront a nightmare scenario, one where the enemy no longer needs to be numerous or visible, just smarter, quieter, and faster. In the aftermath of the strike, the most deafening sound was not the explosion, it was the silence that followed. Not a single major global power issued a formal condemnation, offered clarity, or called for investigation. The United Nations, typically quick to release statements in times of international aggression, remained unusually quiet. The United States, Israel's staunchest ally, responded with vague diplomatic language that offered neither blame nor explanation. NATO remained on the sidelines. Even regional players, often quick to exploit any Israeli vulnerability, were surprisingly cautious. This calculated silence spoke volumes. It wasn't just indifference. It was something colder, more strategic. It hinted at knowledge withheld, at fear, at the possibility that the attacker wasn't some rogue actor, but perhaps someone with connections, leverage, or even quiet support. The global silence was not just a lack of noise. It was a message. One that said this incident, though unprecedented, was not meant to be discussed openly. That silence suggested complicity, or at least strategic hesitation. For a world that thrives on narratives and media spectacles, this moment became an exception. No investigative journalists were embedded near the scene. No satellite data was leaked. No government made a bold claim or launched an emergency session. Instead, the event was swept under the rug with surgical precision, as if the world had collectively agreed not to look too closely. And that raises a terrifying question. Who has the kind of power that not only pulls off a stealth strike, but forces the global order into quiet submission? This wasn't just silence, it was fear wrapped in diplomacy. Israel, reeling from the attack, found itself without the vocal backing it's used to. That absence of outrage from global allies likely deepened the psychological damage. It exposed a new truth, that even Israel, long protected by layers of international support, might stand alone when the nature of warfare changes. Perhaps the silence was out of confusion. Perhaps it was out of awe. Or perhaps, and more alarmingly, it was out of respect for the unknown attacker. The global stage suddenly looked different. A world that once revolved around predictable alliances and open rhetoric now looked like it was shifting into the shadows, where actions speak and words vanish. The silence wasn't peace, it was warning. A warning that something larger is at play and the old powers may not be in control of the new game. The strike wasn't random, and it wasn't just about damage, it was a statement. A message carved into steel and smoke. Whoever carried it out knew exactly what they were doing and why. The target wasn't chosen for its size or location, but for its symbolism. It was a node of intelligence, perhaps a radar facility or communication hub, representing the very eye of Israel's defense mechanism. To strike it so cleanly and then vanish wasn't just tactical brilliance. It was psychological warfare at its finest. The attacker wanted the world to witness not just a breach, but a breakdown. Not just an explosion, but an exposure. And in doing so, they turned a single attack into a global headline without saying a single word. This kind of message doesn't need a spokesman. It speaks through silence. It tells the world, your defenses can be touched. Your intelligence can be blind. Your strength is not as solid as you believe. That's why this wasn't about war in the conventional sense. It was about rewriting the power dynamic, about reminding those who sit comfortably behind their military alliances and technological shields that even they are reachable. The psychological ripple was more powerful than the physical crater. Leaders, analysts, and strategists were forced into reflection, wondering who did it, how, and what they wanted. But the attacker didn't need to demand anything. The act itself was the demand. A warning, a shift. The absence of a claim of responsibility is part of the design. It creates fear through mystery. It's one thing to face a known enemy. It's another to face a ghost. An unseen hand that strikes with elegance and disappears into the clouds leaves behind something far more destabilizing than destruction. doubt. Doubt in the systems meant to protect, doubt in the intelligence meant to predict, doubt in the alliances meant to respond. And that doubt grows quietly, spreading through command rooms, war cabinets, and international briefings. In one instant, the attacker didn't just hit a target. They rewrote the terms of engagement. They proved that in the age of information, silence can be louder than a siren. That a message written in fire, delivered without a name, can echo longer than a declaration of war. The psychological warfare wasn't the aftermath. It was the mission itself. What unfolded in that single, untraceable strike wasn't just a surprise attack. It was a glimpse into the future of conflict. Traditional warfare has always been about numbers, territory, and brute force. But what happened here redefined the rules. A lone aircraft, likely unmanned, potentially AI-guided, entered one of the most heavily monitored airspaces in the world, carried out a surgical strike, and disappeared without a footprint. It didn't require an army. It didn't need a fleet of jets or a battalion of ground troops. This was asymmetric warfare elevated to a terrifying new height, where the balance of power no longer depends on size, but on intelligence, innovation, and stealth. This single act revealed a truth that many global powers have feared, but few have openly acknowledged. The era of conventional dominance is dying. In its place rises a battlefield that's invisible, unpredictable, and deeply psychological. This isn't just about drones or cyber attacks anymore. It's about merging technology with intention, speed with silence, precision with psychological pressure. Whoever orchestrated this event understood the symbolic power of such an act. They didn't just breach airspace. They broke through the very idea of what secure territory means. They didn't just strike a target. They undermined confidence in systems thought to be infallible. That's the essence of modern asymmetric warfare, using minimal force to create maximum disruption. This event proved that a state or even a non-state actor, armed with superior technology and strategic clarity, can shake the very foundations of traditional power structures. The rules of war have shifted from who has more to who moves smarter. No longer do global powers fear armies. They fear the unknown, the invisible, the unclaimed strike that leaves no fingerprints but spreads waves of confusion and doubt. This marks the beginning of a new chapter where dominance won't be measured by military parades or nuclear stockpiles, but by the ability to remain unseen until the moment of impact. The balance has shifted toward those who can fight without showing their face, win without declaring war, and disappear before a response can be made. It's not just the weapons that are changing, it's the philosophy of conflict itself. The silence after the explosion may have been the loudest declaration of all. The age of invisible war has arrived. This was not just an attack. It was a message to the powerful, a reminder to the overconfident, and a warning to those who still believe borders and machines guarantee safety. An aircraft came, struck, and vanished. Not just from the sky, but from every radar, every satellite, and every line of defense. Israel, a nation built on strength, was left in silence, and the world, a chorus of voices in every other conflict, chose to remain still. That silence was not ignorance, it was awareness. Awareness that the rules of engagement have changed, that a new kind of warfare has emerged, one without faces, without names, without footprints, a war of shadows, of symbols, of stunning precision and calculated silence. The sky is no longer owned by those who shout the loudest. It now belongs to those who strike with silence and disappear with meaning. And to every nation watching, to every leader thinking they are safe, the skies have changed. The silence is not peace, it's a pause. A pause before a world that once slept under the illusion of security wakes up to a new, unpredictable reality. Thank you for staying with us through this powerful journey. May this message awaken your mind, sharpen your vision, and inspire deeper thought in a time when truth hides between the lines. Stay strong, stay aware, and never stop asking what lies beyond the silence. Good luck, and may your voice rise where others choose to remain silent.